Hey, good morning. This is Dallas. I'm going to be teaching you how to pull a repository from GitHub and start the applications, either .NET applications or node.js applications. I do apologize for the sound as I'm outside this morning. If you can't hear, I'll redo the video. Okay. So the first thing I'm going to do is go ahead and delete the projects, because I'm going to be redoing these projects. So I'm going to delete them. So there's nothing there. Okay. Delete. Boom. Okay. There's nothing else in my projects. A few things you're going to need is you're going to need Git. You're going to need Git installed, and you're going to need .NET installed, and you're going to need node.js installed. So I think this works for Git too. So you can do Git node -- version .NET -- version. If you're watching this video at a later time, then you're probably going to see that your versions are higher than mine, but either way you should have it installed. I have a link in the description with the tutorials on how to get these installed. I'm using Linux, so this should work with any operating system, including Mac OS and Windows. Now, if you're using .NET applications in Windows, you can pretty much open it in Visual Studio. If you choose to work with Visual Studio, and it'll basically do all this stuff for you, except for with node projects, you're still going to need to be able to install your dependencies correctly and stuff. So basically this is going to be pulling down an application from GitHub and getting up and running and starting the application. So I'm not going to go over how to build the application. I'm not going to go over how to install anything or why this is what it is. I'm just going to teach you how to do it. If you have other questions, I'll make other videos, but this was just going to be a short video, mainly for one group of individuals, but I thought I'd make it open to everyone. Alright, so the first thing you're going to need to do is you're going to need to find the repository, and you're more than welcome to use mine, although I will say that you need to remove, actually I should probably do that, but don't use my database because I have to pay for that shit. So anyways, so the first one I'm going to do is I'm going to do the node. So I'm going to go to my node application, okay, and I'm going to open up my node folder because this is where I want to keep all my node stuff. So you're going to open up a repository, and I'm going to go ahead and get the link. Alright, so the command is git clone. That just clones it, pulls it down with the link. You can also do a git clone from a local repository as well. So when I press enter, it's going to load my application, or let's pull it down. Alright, so from here, I'm going to go into my application here. Alright. Okay, so now you'll see if I go to node app.js, that worked, which is weird. Okay, it's not really supposed to happen that way. So maybe it's because I'm not really sure, but that's not what's supposed to happen. What's supposed to happen is it's not supposed to work at all. Actually, no, I know what happens. I don't think it is configured correctly. I'm sorry. So if I do no package manager start, no, it still works. Okay. Let's just go to this directory here, and I'm going to make a new folder, temporary, right? Alright, so in here, open in a terminal, and I'm going to do git clone. I should pull that down now. Alright, so if I do node app.js, there we go. Okay, so I'm not sure why. It's probably because it was already in that directory before, and I haven't restarted my computer, so it's probably just cached in memory or something. Not sure why, but this just should be the error that you get saying that it can't write, your application's crashed. So what you'll need to do, no, actually, I'm all over the place this morning. So I need to go in here and then do node app.js. This frustrates me. Okay, so what I'm going to teach you to do is, if there was an issue, which there should be an issue right now, but if there wasn't an issue, if there was an issue where you couldn't run your dependencies, you would delete this folder here, node modules. You need to delete it. So now I know for a fact this isn't going to work. Okay, so to get this up and running, you would need to first do, now I'm using Bower, and Bower requires me to have that installed globally. So I will need to do node package manager, install Bower-G. G stands for global, and since I'm on Linux, I will need to use sudo command, install Bower-G, type my password. I think I typed it right. Yes. Alright, so you're going to wait for that to pull, and then you will need to use the command node package manager install. So that will actually pull down all your dependencies so that you'll be able to run your node application. Again, I'm not sure why it was working. It 9 times out of 10 probably won't when you pull a repository down. But you'll need to do that so you can pull your stuff. Now, I also have gulp installed, so I'm going to use a gulp command called gulp serve. That's going to check all my CSS and JavaScript errors. Now, when I go to my application, it should pull up, and I should be able to log in. Now, I don't really have it doing much. I'm just pulling information from the database and putting it in a JSON file. But, you know, it does work because, actually, I can show you that it works by going to books, because otherwise it wouldn't let me. And I'll briefly demonstrate that the application is working correctly by going to go to serve. Alright, I'm going to start this again. If I try to go to books, it's just going to bring me right back here. Right, I can click it as many times as I want. It's not going to let me. And as soon as I sign in, I can go home, right? I can go to books. It's going to load the books. Alright, so that's for Node.js, and that's about it. If you have any other questions, let me know. I'm not going to go over all the details in Node right now. I like Node a lot. It works really fast, and I can get an application up and running in like 20 lines of code or less, which is very convenient. Once you know what you're doing, there's a lot of setup. There's a lot of beginner stuff that you need to know. It's not as simple as .NET you can just run and you can generate a bunch of code, but I just suggest not doing that until you really know exactly all the behind the scenes. So for the next project, I'm going to do .NET. So I'm using .NET Core. It's the newest version of .NET. Runs on Mac, Linux, Windows. Those are only 3 operating systems, but if there was another one, it'd probably run on that one too. For this one, I'm going to do my PyShop. Alright, so the same thing, so I'm going to need the repository link. So I got that copied. Boom, boom. Alright, now I'm going to open up a terminal window here. And I'm going to do a git clone. Then my repository link. Then clone. Now, if I do a .NET run, it's going to crash. It's not going to let me run it. So this is something similar that you should have gotten in Node, whereas Node would have just thrown an exception saying, hey, we can't find this package, we don't know what this is, etc. Given the fact that you've got Node installed, if you don't have Node installed, it's not going to tell you anything because it's going to be like, what's Node? Same thing for this. You need to have .NET Core installed. I'll have the links in the description. Very simple to follow. If you're running Windows with the newest version of Visual Studio, you should automatically have the new .NET Core installed. If you're not using it, I suggest you use it because that's the way that it's going to go. I only have a little bit of time left. So let me go ahead and tell you what you got to do. So in .NET, in Visual Studio, it'll do this automatically for you. If you're running Mac or Linux, or you're using like Sublime Text or Notepad++, in Windows, or you don't want to use Visual Studio, you'll need to run the command .NET restore. So .NET restore goes and looks at your, it's not project.json anymore, it's actually, where is it at? It's actually going to be this CS proj file. So if you open this project, I'll open this one, and it's just going to look through and find all these dependencies and tools that I'll need for my project, and it's going to go out there and it's going to install those dependencies. So now when I do a .NET run, it's going to build and should start my application. Alright, so now I can go back to my browser, and if I pull up localhost 5000, now there's a status code here 404 not found because I don't have the home page configured. But if I do the py.list or py/list, my application should load. Now it doesn't really do anything, it's sort of a static site. I haven't finished building it, but someone had asked me, how do they use GitHub, or how do they pull, they don't know what they're doing. So, and since using Linux, this should work for every operating system. Again, Windows, if you have Visual Studio, you should be able to click on new project from repository or from GitHub if you have the GitHub extension installed within Visual Studio, and just go ahead and copy your link. You're more than welcome to try out my repositories, but do not, and in fact I need to take that down, but again, if I don't have it down in time, do not use, especially for the library for a node application, please don't use my database, because that costs me money, and this is more for private work anyways. But I'm just doing this to show you guys something. So anyways, I got to go, but it's been nice, and I will talk to you guys later.